So, welcome back to Pon's Tinkering Garage, and this is a Finding Athena series, and it's day 2. Yesterday, on day 1, we created this from this. This is the base mesh, and we add some, sculpting and definitions to create a more detailed model, so that it don't look cartoony and kind of plastic flat thing. So we created this. We add, definitions to this with subdivision, and yeah, this is how we left them yesterday, and today we're gonna continue refining this model. So yeah, that's it for now, and let's get it started. So, okay, maybe this is also a good time to add a little bit of a not safe for work notifications. As you can see, it's a not very safe video to watch if you're still in your workplace. So yeah, please don't watch this right now. You can watch it later. And for those of you who watch it in the privacy of your own place, so then you can watch it now safely. And yeah, so let's do it. I think the first thing that we're gonna do is actually, it's something that I kind of forget yesterday, is to make the eyelids to be open. You see, now the eyelids is closed and it looks great, but it's also a good idea to open the eyelids so we can see how they look when they open the eyelids. So, because most of the time of the animations, you're gonna have open eyelids, and we can also join the open and the closed eyelid with shape keys, so you can just tweak the sliders and you can basically open and close the eyes. And that's a very great way of doing it. So yeah, that's probably the first thing that we're gonna do. And to be safe, we're just gonna duplicate the model so we can have a safe copy, and we basically just call it open eyelids, and yeah, then we're very much ready to go. So instead of sculpting, the thing is, I want to isolate some part of the model, and the first thing that I want to isolate is actually the head, and you can just select the head. And we also want to isolate the eye inside, and we can just basically hide the entire thing of the rest. So the next thing I want to hide is also the back of the head. So we are end up with this mask, and the next thing I want to hide is also okay. I think that's it. Now we can just create another vertex group, and let's just call it upper eyelid, because we're gonna select, just for the sake of simplicity, it's so much easier that we can hide and show the eyelids, so that it's easier for us later to sculpt the entire thing. So yeah, I'm just gonna select all of the upper eyelids from the front view, and yeah, that's what I'm doing. And next we also have to select this thing that's kind of hidden. So you can just use the X-ray, so it's just so much easier to see through the faces. And you're gonna be selecting the back of the eye socket, and that's okay. We can just deselect them later. And yeah, I think that's it. And we also have to include the inside of the eye socket, because as we open our eyelids, it also affects the inside of the eye socket. So it's probably a good idea to include some part of the eye socket a little. And I think, as you can see, this is the seam, the eye socket UV seam, and I think up to here, something like that, something like 5 face, the 5th face. I think that's gonna be enough, and we're gonna just select all that, and we can deselect. Probably it's a good idea to start my shortcut VUR, and we can just deselect the rest of the thing of the eye socket, and we can deselect it from the side view. And yeah, that's kind of cool. And yeah, I think that's it. We probably also have to include this 2 faces, the edge, for the sake of simplicity, this 2 thing. Well, I don't think it is. Just leave it there. It's just easier. Okay, maybe this is good enough. And we're gonna include them to the upper eyelids, assign them, so we can select them, we can later hide them, and it's gonna be cool. So now we also have to include the right side or the left side from our view, and we can just do it simply by select mirror, and let's check it if we've selected the proper thing. And yeah, seems okay. And we just kind of wait a minute, there's this one face included. Let's see if we can just remove it, and now it's okay. Now we reassign. Okay, now it's cleaner. Okay, now we can just select mirror, and it's supposedly gone, and that's gone, and that's good. And we can assign them. So now we have 2 sets of eyelids, and we're very much ready to go. So next thing, we can just hide I plan on hiding because we're gonna have this, and I think we're just gonna have to, let's see if we select, that's not very useful, is it? So I think we're gonna do the same thing with the lower eyelid too. Lower eyelids, and we're just gonna register. Sorry, I got a very runny nose. And okay, now we're just gonna select the same thing but for the lower eyelid, so it's just make it much easier later. And yeah, just quickly do this and go to the X-ray and select all those pesky small faces, and which is kind of hard to see from the front view. And yeah, that looks like great. And we also gonna include 5, up to 5. Sorry for that. Gonna 5 faces to from the seam, and we're just gonna deselect the entire thing, the rest. I mean, yeah. And now we can safely deselect from the side view and just checking if it's in the proper place. Okay, now we can just assign it and see if it's selected properly. And yeah, it's selected properly, and we can just go select mirror and we check again if it's in the proper order. And yeah, it's in proper order, and we can just assign. So we can now have selected both the left and the right lower eyelids. Now we're gonna start it. We're gonna start sculpting, and first we're gonna start with the upper eyelids. So we're gonna hide the lower eyelid, and yeah. So the thing is, we can actually also hide. We can just basically do this. We can select the eyes inside, and we can deselect the upper eyelids because this kind of correspond to one another. So now we can do this, and we can simply hide the rest. So we just end up with this portion of the inner eyelid and the inner socket, the upper eyelid and then the inner upper eyelid. So yeah, we're very ready to go. Now it's kind of a okay. Now I know that this looks kind of a creepy because it looks like very creepy. So now we can just start sculpting the eyes, the eyelid, to have that little bit of curve, just enough to separate the lower and then the upper eyelid. We don't have to be crazy about this, because to be honest, the importance of doing this part is basically to have a rough idea about how they might look, and that's just more than enough actually. So yeah, I also puff this fatty layers on top of the eyelids because now it's open. It's kind of pushed this out a little bit, and yeah, that looks kind of cool. And let's see, making sure that we don't break the topology. And yeah, I think that's looking cool. Now we can just show the entire thing, and now we're gonna work with the lower eyelid. Now it looks kind of okay. We later we're gonna add an eyeball to it so that we can have a rough idea how it looks. But now we're gonna work with the bottom part. So we're just gonna select the upper eyelid and hide them, and just do what we did earlier, eyes inside, and we're gonna lower eyelid, deselect, and we can just basically hide it, and we end up with this nice and crisp thing. But actually we're gonna have to redo doing the head thing, and that's okay. And gonna do hide this for quick. And yeah, now we are back on track, and we're gonna push this back down. And the thing about the lower eyelid is basically that it's curved less, so you don't have to be crazy, because between the upper eyelid, the curve of the upper eyelid is much bigger than the lower one, so it's okay that this one is very small anyway. So we can just, now why is that doesn't move? Okay, sorry for that. Now I'm just gonna, okay, now I kind of forget to deselect that and get hide. Okay, that's proper. You see, that's why I always like to check the models before I kind of, you know, hide it, because sometimes it's just, you know, it's something that you wouldn't predict. You know, sometimes you hide the wrong faces, sometimes you misclick, and you know, you basically screw up the entire model. And then, because the thing that's, when it's hidden and then you sculpt it, you cannot really sculpt it if it's hidden, so you basically sculpt the just the one side of it, and that's kind of bad. And it seems that I also have this weird, we have kind of when we sculpted the outer eyelid, I think we just kind of mess with the inner socket, so I'm just gonna fix it a bit. And yeah, I think that's kind of enough, I think. So let's see if we deselect unhide them, and yeah, checking in if it's looking any great. It's kind of great, actually. It's okay. Now we just have to deal with this inside the edge, the corner, the eyes corner, and yeah. See, this is kind of a screwed up when we sculpt it, because it's really thin, the distance between this and that, so it's kind of a, you know, so we can deal with it later with, we're gonna just use shape keys to with the original, because the eye socket doesn't change at all, actually, and it doesn't supposed to change. So yeah, we can do it later. Now I'm just gonna add a little bit of curvature to the upper eyelid and pop it up a little bit, and this part. Yeah, I know. Okay, that looks kind of fine. We don't have to be too crazy about this anyway, so we just have to have a great approximate of how it looks later. And yeah, I think this is much more than enough. Let's see what we got so far. We got in mainline, and okay, this is kind of cool. And I think I'm just gonna bring in an eyelid, sorry, an eyeball. And okay, wait a minute, I'm just gonna open new blend file, because, so here's another thing, it's another tricks, is that to keep your assets. And yeah, because it's very because the thing about 3D is that it's kind of great because it's kind of repeatable. You don't have to do it. You know, the thing about 2D things, drawing and painting, the problem with it is that you cannot really reuse anything. Meanwhile, 3D it's very reusable. I mean, like anything, any part of 3D is very, very repeatable. I mean, like it's kind of reusable thing, and so yeah. Okay, this might be it, I think. Okay, this is good. I have this template, and I'm just gonna throw in there and pop it up here. Okay, this is a good. This is the eyeball, and it's kind of perfect actually. Yeah, it's kind of perfect, and let's make it a round number. Sorry. I think you're just gonna have to deal with the inner first, and then we can just copy the entire thing to the outer part. Okay, that's too much. The thing is, I like kind of a round number if I could. So yeah, we can just use cursor to select it, and we can just this to something like that, so it has the exactly same locations. You just okay. Now let's see. No, that's looking great actually. Now, yeah. Sorry for that. Okay, now I think that this could go up a little bit, because the thing is, if you notice that when we open our eyes, it's very natural that you see that what it's called again, the retina, the eye. Let's see what it's called. What's that part with colors in it? Pupil, the iris. Yes, that's a name. I mean, it's normal to have the iris touch the bottom eyelid, the border of the bottom eyelid, because if you see, I mean, like if you go to a mirror, you will notice that when we open our eyes in normal, I mean, like unless you are like staring something big with big eyes and whatnot, but normally you will have something like that, and yeah, that's what I'm aiming at. So maybe go south a little. Okay, something like that. Okay, now we can resculpt our model so that it fits better. Now we can just rehide the lower eyelids, and then the eyes inside with their upper eyelid deselected. You can hide. Okay. Now let's sculpt it so that now, okay, maybe a little bit higher. I'm aiming for something more curved look around the pupil, because if you notice that the pupil is more the shape of our pupil is kind of a more elongated, and we're gonna taper it down, something like that, and let's see. That's kind of cool actually. Now I'm thinking of maybe that putting it down and putting it up, the inside corner to be a little bit down, and then the outside corner to be a little bit up. Now we can just unhide the entire thing, something like that, because now it looks as if that it has the droopy kind of eyes, which is not I don't think that shape naturally. So okay, something like that, probably a little bit up. Okay, now that looks great. Okay, you just have to pull the, now that looks kind of okay actually. You just have to smooth this edge thing because it looks really sharp. And so again, yeah, that's nice. Just have to pull this back a little bit so it's closer to the, it's kind of closing in the eyeball. Okay, now that's the way to do it. Okay. Yeah, that looks very good. Now, I know, just to make it not looking, you know, creepy, just gonna pull this up. Sorry. It's 36, it probably 7.02, yes, something like that. Now that looks great. Sorry. Yeah. That looks really great actually. So now we can just tweak this just probably a little bit, just to make it look a little bit better. First of all, I want to make the fat layer, this fat tissues outside the eyelid, much thicker, because now when we open our eyes, this part is kind of pushed up, so it's kind of normal to add a little bit of a volume to it. So that's what I'm doing. So, and also we're gonna create a sharper edge around the inner part, and I'm gonna thin it out, the corner. Okay, that looks okay. And now I'm thinking it's a little bit too bulging here. I'm aiming for something flatter on the eyelid, because so that it kind of contrasts with the you know, the fatty part of the, what's it, I'm not really sure what this is called, the area above the eyelid but below the brow. I mean, like, it's just I don't know if you know the technical terms for it, please give it a comment. And yeah, I'm aiming something like that, to be honest. Okay, that's what I'm aiming at, and these two needs a little bit of smoothing, probably moving it just a notch. Okay, something like that. Checking my topology so that I don't break any of my topology. And yeah, now that's looking good. That's looking good, and yeah. Can make it sharper here to create that classic look of the outer eyelid. Okay. Okay. That's great. With only this. I don't like how the lower. I like the upper eyelid, but I'm not really sure about the lower. So I think gotta change it a little bit. Thin it out just a little bit. So that the thing is, I want to create a. Okay, that's closer to what I have in mind. Maybe we have to thin this out so that it can create a better shape. Okay. Now the thing is, I think this part is a little bit too thick, so I'm just gonna pave it a little bit so that it curves the eyes better. Okay, that's enough, because this is the inside part of the lower eyelid supposedly to be you know, kind of hollow. Okay, now let's see what we've got so far. Okay, now that looks better. Yeah, that looks very much better. And so I'm thinking of thinning this entire thing. Okay. Okay, check it out again, and that gives a little bit. It's a better shadow around this the eye bag. I'm not really sure what it's called. So yeah, it's great. Maybe just a little bit rounder around here, so that it transitions better. Okay. Now that's what I'm aiming at, and yeah, that looks very good. So here's the thing, what I meant about a open eyelid, so that we can have a closed one and then open one, and as you can see that it changed a lot from the open to, you see that this is rather flat, and then this one, as it turns out, needs to be brought deeper towards the socket, and that's what I meant, because sometimes it doesn't match. It looks good already here, but when we try to add an actual eyeball to it, it doesn't really, you know, look as good anymore. So yeah, I'm also kind of thinning and smoothing this part in, and okay. Okay, now that's the nose, fixing the nose, smoothing it out, and yeah, that looks cool. Okay, now, so here's what I meant about shape keys. You know, if we already have this part and then we want to just copy this to there, to our original model, we can just use shape keys, and we can select the source and then the target and go to the object data properties, and under the shape keys we can just join as shapes. And now okay, that's kind of the other way around, I think. Okay, it's supposedly to be the destination and then the source, and we create join as shapes. Now if you notice that if we do it, it change, and that's what I meant. So it's kind of cool, is it? Okay, that's really cool. To the main light, and that's okay, that's great. Now, yeah, so I think we're ready to re-subdivide the models, and we go to level 3, and yeah, let's do it. So for that, I think we're just gonna do with the ones with the eyelids, because we're gonna do both, I think. So let's delete it for now, and we can just duplicate both, and yeah, now it's level 3, and this one level 3 with eyelids, with open eyelids. Yeah, sorry, I've got a really runny nose today. Okay, now we actually, because this thing is very much interchangeable, I think I'm just gonna continue with the thing is, it's kind of interchangeable. I mean, like, if you wanna add the closed eyelid to the open eyelids, you can just do the opposite. That, and now you can make it close their eyes. So it's very interchangeable. So it doesn't really matter where you want to sculpt it, whether it's in the closed eyelid or the open eyelid. It's very much the same. So yeah, that's cool. Now, I think I would prefer to do it on the open one, because it's kind of already the ones that we modified. So yeah, let's do it. Let's add a subdivision. first of all, I think we're just gonna have to save the entire thing before we crash, something like that, and we're just gonna have to apply. Now again, this is a quadruple. This is like 100,000 faces, and this is 400. And yeah, let's get it started. Now we can, as you can see, now we have less and much less a stretching, but now because we subdivided it, now it looks, you know, a kind of plastic again. So yeah, we should resculpt the entire thing. But now I think I'm just gonna reduce the strength to something like 0.3, so that, because this is a very fine stage, we can just reduce the strength, because we don't really need, it's just like sculpting thing. It's just like sculpting on a marble. You know, the first blocking thing, you use a bigger chisel and you knock the marble in and to shape it. But as you refine the shape, you don't really need, you're gonna use a smaller chisel and much finer strength. So that's very much comparable to what we did here. Probably 1.4. This is a little bit okay, that's better. So we're gonna redo the entire thing. It's not actually redo, it's just basically give definition, because if we don't give it enough definitions, it's just like ending like a plastic, just like what I've talked about earlier in the previous day. So it's got a dilemma between, you know, adding geometry and adding details, because this is the simplified version of it, because I've told this yesterday. So basically the dilemma is that if you have a really small number geometry, it's a geometry with a small number of polygons, you're gonna have a very bad deformation. But when you add geometry to it, you will have a better deformations. But if you don't sculpt it or do something about it, so you just add a subdivision modifier, you'll end up with a good geometry and a good deformation, but it will look shiny and plasticky. So, and that's not what we want either. So yeah, so every time you subdivide your model, you're very much bound to refine the model. So because if you just add geometry to it, but you don't want to do something, give some extra information to it, you're gonna end up having a kind of plastic looking model, and that's not very much what we want. So yeah, okay, now refining the eyes, because the eyes is kind of important, because you say that's kind of the entrance, the soul of the entire thing. So the thing is, something that I noticed yesterday is when I edit my video, I realized that sculpting the face kind of takes up like almost a half of the entire video, and that's kind of interesting, because how much I spend half of the time just doing the face, because that's kind of Well, that's kind of important anyway. So that's the reason. So yeah, you should probably too, actually, because face is kind of a important aspect of this sculpt, and because the thing is, it's something that probably people's gonna focus the most. I mean, like the body, for example, you know, you can get away with, you know, less detailed representations, but the face, if you got it wrong, you know, it's just gonna look really, really weird. So, yeah, you should spend some more time on the face compared to other areas. And let's see if I break any uh, topology. So yeah, now it's gonna go down. So it creates a duct, the the tear ducts thing. Yeah. Again, like I mentioned earlier, that it's always a good idea for you to have a reference for this kind of thing. And yeah. Okay. Let's see. And the light. Okay, that looks better. Now the thing about, let's refine it. And yeah. You see, I think I'm just gonna, you see, yesterday it's kind of the fundamentals. We talk a lot about the fundamentals. And meanwhile, in this part, it's mostly repetitive because we're gonna redo the same thing. So I'm thinking of actually making a little bit of time lapse just for this part, because so that I don't bore you to death. So yeah. Okay. So making the cheekbones a little bit more defined. Now this is the bridge between the bony part and then this is the bone, this is the zygomatic bone, and this is the cheek, the cheek's apple. Uh, so yeah, so this one goes this way and this one more goes this way. So you can change the directions of the sculpt, the brush, so to create that effects. And yeah. Okay. Now let's do the nose again. Create a little bit more definition to that pinch on the nose. This is the bone. This is not the bone. Okay. Okay, let's see my reference again. Okay. Yeah, this one's supposedly to be something like that. Yeah. That looks more like the reference that I'm using. Okay, now this one. Two. Okay, now I think we just gotta pull this up. Let's see if I break any topology. No. I'm gonna broad this a little bit up so that something like that. Okay. See? Okay, that looks better. This one is supposedly something like that. Give it a little bit more definition, more pinchiness around the nose, so that the model has a very, very strong looking nose. Yeah, something like that. And yeah, that looks better. And yeah, we continue with this. What's next? This is the bulge of the nose. This is the bob of the nose. Maybe we should be doing this next to create that. Anyway, this is called, if you've watched my video, the last video, this is actually called Eller. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. That's this bulb thing. Alar, probably Alar. And let's check how it's pronounced. Alar pronunciation. Alar. Okay, that's the way to do it, so that I don't embarrass myself too long. Alar. Okay, that's how to pronounce it. To those who doesn't know how to pronounce it, Alar, and yeah, this is the thing here is called a alar crease. Yeah, that's kind of a very useful thing, so that we can know what we're talking about. Naming is kind of important, but don't get to focus on that. I mean, like, yes, it's the thing about anatomy uh, is that it's very important to, you know, remember all the names, all the proper Latin names. You know, it's very, very good thing to do. Uh, but you should also not forget that uh, the function, the function that we learn all that name is that to make a better art. So don't focus too much on that and forget the basic of the art itself. Okay, where was I? Uh, yeah, don't get too carried away with the anatomy thing. It's great, but you should not be too. You should not focus too much on it. It's much better that you know just enough about anatomy, and then just enough to help you to make a better art. So you should not learn anatomy for anatomy's sake. Probably that's what I want to say. But you should learn anatomy uh, just enough, I think, as you need for your art. So if your art requires less anatomy thing, why bother learning all the names and the proper uh, thing? I guess that's probably what I want to say. And yeah, now we're going for the nostrils. It will curve inside, and yeah, it will curve a little bit inside here, as this one goes here. Something like that, probably. The thing is, again, maybe this is also a good notification, is that my model is, you know, like white. She is a she's a very Caucasian looking model. So the thing is that I realize that not everyone, I mean, like, I'm not gonna whitewash the entire people. So I probably shouldn't tell you that this is a white model. So not, again, I mean, like, maybe that's also a good thing, a good practice to do, is that you become more aware and sensitive about the kinds of model that you use. Because the thing is, for example, I mean, like, the reason for that I'm talking about this is talking about the nose. I mean, like, not everyone has this kind of nose. Again, because if you look at my nose, I don't have this kind of a nose, because, well, I'm not practically by all means a Caucasian, so I don't have that kind of nose. So yeah, so you should be aware of that. I mean, like, so for example, that you're creating a black character, for example, I mean, like, you should be faithful of how that people look like, and you shouldn't, like, kind of whitewash them to have white features, you know. So yeah, probably that's a good practice to do. And yeah, continuing south. And So I think yesterday something that I kind of forget to do is actually to make the lips a little bit sharper around the edge. We know that this is the edge, right? Okay, it's loading. Okay, now that's the edge, right? And the edge is on that part. Okay, now we should create a little bit of crease around here so that it's super sharp around there, around that area. Yep, and it's only then that we start bulging it, start giving it a little bit of volume to it. Yeah, it's also from the top part we should also create this kind of thing. Let's use move tool. Okay, now, okay, that looks cool. Okay. Okay. It's also the reason why we can do it is because we have added definition, we have added geometry to the model. I kind of doubted that we can give that kind of a sharp edge around the lips earlier because we just lack geometry. Okay, let's turn off the wireframe. Okay, that's cool. Let's see. Now that's kind of sharp. Yeah. I'm wondering where is actually the... I think... I think I've kind of oh, that's the reason. I think we're gonna have to redefine the UV map. So we're gonna do later because it's way too high for the map because it's supposedly enough. This is, yeah. Where is it? Yeah, this is way too high, I think, and it's okay for the bottom lips, but it's way too high for the upper lips. So just gonna fix it later. And yes, I'm just gonna thin this out because it's supposedly to be thinner as it goes to the corner, the lips. Okay, now that's looking better. See? Now what we just need to do is to make it a little bit smoother here, because as it goes to the edge, it's also should not just it becomes flatter, but it also becomes smoother, so that this kind of thing join to this area, more joint at least. Pull it back a little bit. Okay, that's cool. Okay, now we can continue sculpting. Let's create that groove around the nose. A little bit definition. Maybe that I use the word definition way too much, I think. Because, you know, I'm not really sure, because that's the way, because that's the closest thing that I can think of. Definitions. It's actually, because the thing is, it's not details per se, is it? I mean, like, it's just information. It's not detail, to be honest. Okay, so yeah, that's the closest word that I can think of. Okay. This is a little bit puffed up, so I'm gonna thin it out a little bit. This part too, so that it creates a sharp lips, the border of the lips. Oops. I think I masked it accidentally. Okay, now that's looking better. Let's just give it a little bit of definition. Okay. Okay, how does it look like? In case did I break any geometry? I don't think so. Checking in. Okay, let's see. Oh, this one. This one is a little bit out. Okay. Okay, now that looks better. Yeah. Now, okay, now we can continue with the lower lips for now. Just give it a little bit definitions and, you know, rough chisel mark kind of thing, because I like it, you know, give it a little bit of more life to it. So, yeah. That dimple here around the corner, just give it a little bit more. Okay, something like that. Make the dimple let's see about the geometry. Okay, that looks okay. Okay. Okay, that looks better. Now we can just move on to the, it's a little bit of white. Yeah. Yep. Okay. A little bit of groove behind, beneath the lower lips, a classic dimple there. Okay, now the chin. The chin, it's not too big of details. Actually, just going cross hatch it because it looks great already. Actually, maybe a little bit up so that give it a squarer look. Maybe this a little bit dimpled in, dimpled out. Okay, just give it a little bit of interesting shapes. Maybe, okay. Okay, now. Okay, let's continue with the mouth. This one should go from here to here, so that's why I created that loop here. Okay, that's cool. Now let's redo the masseter thing. Goes from here to there. Quickly create that serration. Yep, something like that. Anyway, I'm sorry that there's gonna be, it's raining here, so you're gonna hear some background noise probably. And yeah, I hope it doesn't bother too much. Okay, now that's something like that. Just to smooth it out, just go cross hatch that thing. And that's how you create a jaw, actually. Pop it up a little bit. Yep. Yeah. That so looks okay. It's great even. And yeah, I think we can just move on to the upper part and the brow. The brows, we've done it before. The brow. Sorry. The brow. That's the brow. This is the bridge of the forehead, and goes top to the actual forehead. Let's just cross hatch this thing to create a little bit of interesting shapes and shadows and whatnot. This is the temple. Just give it a little bit extra information. Definitions, I mean, sorry. Okay, now that looks good. Just cross-hatch this thing so that it's actually good. I mean, like the cross-hatch I told you that cross-hatch is the best thing that you can do to give you know, a nice extra definition to your model, because it's kind of neutralizes things. Going to the back, and let's add the vertical yeah, that looks like it. And now let's do with the temple. The temple goes from here to there, right? And we can just cross-hatch it this way, just to create an interesting serration, I think that's the word. Yeah. Now it's time to smooth it out a little bit, because it's a little bit too daunting. Okay. Now it's really raining, guys. So, okay, now that looks great. Let's see what we got, and yeah, that's what we want actually. Okay, now maybe that is a little bit rounder. Okay. Now let's deal with the ear. Again, just like I mentioned earlier in earlier videos, that don't spend way too much time around the ear, because the thing is, just add definitions to it so that it doesn't look plastic. But other than that, you don't really need too much, you know, you shouldn't spend too much time on the ear, because usually, most likely it's going to be covered anyway with the hair. So yeah, just make it, you know, quickly, and okay. Something like that, probably. Figure it out. Okay. Figure it out. Okay. Now, okay, that's the second layer. That's gonna be enough. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this. But since we got an extra geometry, you can make it, you know, a little bit detailed if that's what you want. But I don't bother really. And like just scrape it up so that it doesn't look weird. And that's the bar for me. And yeah, that's great actually. And yeah, I think that's it for the head.